Good afternoon, this is team number 4 and we will be presenting our challenge. For a brief introduction, this is what we performed during the past weeks. The group selected subjects to perform Pebble's cognitive tasks and took an EEG acquisition, and with this we developed the process of the signal, pre-processing and processing of the signals in order to generate an analysis to extract the most important results. For our hypothesis, according to research, we established the following. The biomarker will be given by the bioelectrical activity in the occipital lobe, and it will be related directly to the power spectrum at the range of the beta frequency. The main objective during this challenge is to implement a neuroergonomic system so that in the acquisition we can take this low cortical activity quantitatively and with this generate a correlation analysis with the cognitive performance in healthy adults from 50 to 60 years old.
The first step for the realization of this experimentation process was the selection for the test subjects, as the main selection criteria to be older than 50 and younger than 65 years old, not to be mentally ill or to be under psychological or neurological medication, also not to have a memory problem. Within the practice of this experimentational process, it was possible to observe more female participation within an average age of 54 years old. Next, in the experimental process, it was used a distribution of electrodes for retrieving information from the channels F6, F5, FC, F3, O1, OC, and O2, being selected for our team for specialized treatment F6, O1, and O2. As for the test performed, this was a cognitive type, in which the response time to a stimulus on a screen was measured. From the detonation of a trigger of which were analyzed in a period of minus zero point 0.8 seconds to zero point 0.8. Each detonation matched with a trial making 10 per run, repeated 3 times. Finally, speaking of the EEG processing, the following steps were followed. We start applying filters. High pass, low pass, and notch filters were applied, in which 0.5, 32, and 60 Hz frequencies were filtered. Subsequently, a car-type filter was applied, which is a spatial filter that helps to reduce the scalp interference in the brain signals. After processing the data, we proceed to obtain wavelets for the analysis of the spectrum of the action potential of the frequencies in the time domain of the selected channels mentioned above. In the same way, characteristic information was obtained for channels at the frequencies 25, 28, and 30, which are within the beta frequencies range.
The exact features of the team analysis were mentioned previously, such as 3 certain channels and 3 certain frequencies. As for the result of the project, the team divided them in 2 sections. For the EEG acquisition, a frequency analysis on the time domain, and an association analysis by linear and non-linear methods. First, we can see on the acquired signal that our subject had an optimal cognitive response. On the bottom of the graphs, the red color, green color, and trigger are directly related to the test the subject was submitted, where frontal lobes are used for cognitive and voluntary movement control, and the occipital lobes are purely sensorial for visual information and stimuli. The features chosen on our association analysis correspond to independent variables from the EEG acquisition and dependent variables from the Pebble test results, where the memory automaticity is related to information retention, the go-no-go is related to response time, and connections related to information association. Linear analysis by correlation of Spearman allows us to perform correlations for more than 13 observations. R means the correlation on our variables. P-value means the confidence value. The less, the better statistically talking, where the predictions would be more significant. We only consider the best p-value, where it should be below 0.05 for a 95% of accuracy prediction. When it is not the case, we can say that there are no good linear associations between the independent and dependent variables. When the correlation is positive, it means it's directly associated, and when it is negative, it's inversely proportional. We found optimal results on channels 01, frequencies 28 and 30, on memory automaticity test, and finally on channel F6 on frequency 30, on go-no-go test. On the regression tree analysis, the leaves or final nodes mean the percentual error of the predictions depending on the variable we're analyzing. The lower error means a better cognitive performance. So, for the project, we could say that our regression tree is a better association model because it can analyze more variables. Specifically, for our case, the memory automaticity model has the lowest mean square error and absolute mean error.
To conclude this challenge, we can say, first of all, that the EEG signal acquisition was successfully performed by the team. This allowed us to have useful processing and pre-processing raw data. Also, as it could be shown in the results, the correlation analysis established that in the case of memory automaticity tasks, the accuracy prediction was the optimum, getting a negative relation between the time response ratio and the cognitive performance in the 01, 28 and 02, 30 variables. This was confirmed throughout the p-value that was the lowest. Therefore, we can say that our hypothesis is accepted because in the occipital lobe, in the frequencies of 28 and 30 Hz, the optimal data is presented. As shown also in the previous wavelets, the power spectrum is in both 01 and 02 variables, higher than in the F6 variable that is in the frontal lobe. In order to strengthen the results, the tree map was also presented, and it showed the minimal absolute error for the same variable. It was presented at x5 and was referring to 01 in the frequency of 28 Hz. And finally, in this challenge, we directed specifically to subjects from 50 to 60 years old, which we know that in this age, the cognitive performance is decreasing. Thank you for your attention.